I'm going to take you through how to solve an absolute value equation that involves an absolute value on each side. So our first example, I have 2w minus 3, the absolute value of that expression, equals the absolute value of 5w plus 1. Previously, when I was solving an equation like this, the first time I would write it just as it was, and that is not going to change. So the first time I'm just going to drop the absolute values and I'm going to solve it as is. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to get all of my w's to one side. That gives me negative 3w minus 3 equals 1. I'm going to add 3 to each side, which gives me negative 3w equals 4. I'm going to divide by negative 3 to give me negative 4/3. So supposedly that will work if I plug it back in. Not a bad idea to do a mental check. 2w times negative 4/3 is negative 8/3 minus 3, negative 17/3. On this side, I would get 5 times negative 4/3, which is negative 20/3, plus 1, which gives me negative 17/3. So that checks out and we're okay. Now, for my other example, or my other equation, all I'm going to do is simply write one of my two absolute value. I'm choosing the second one to keep it consistent with the way we solved the first one. And basically distribute a negative to everything inside. So 2w minus 3 equals negative 5w minus 1. So I've distributed a negative, and now I'm going to solve this equation. So again, I'm going to add 5w to each side. Last time I subtracted the 5w. That gives me 7w minus 3 equals negative 1. I'm going to add 3 to each side, which gives me 7w equals 2. And divide by 7, I get w equals 2/7. Again, I can plug it back in and check to make sure that it works, and it will work out. Here's another example for us to do together. So the first time, I'm going to write x minus 4 equals x plus 8. And the second time, I'm going to write x minus 4 equals negative, parenthesis, x plus 8. For my first example, I'm going to subtract x from each side. I get negative 4 equals 8, which is not true. For my second example, the right side, when I distribute, turns into negative x minus 8. When I solve, I have to now add x. So that gives me 2x minus 4 equals negative 8. I add 4 to each side. 2x equals negative 4. Divide by 2. X is negative 2. Not a bad idea to do a quick check. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. Absolute value would make it 6. On my other one, negative 2 plus 8 is 6. Absolute value still 6. So I know that this one works out okay. Go ahead and try this one on your own, then press play to see how you did. For my first one, 3 minus 2x equals 3x minus 1. And then I will solve by getting all of my x's to one side. So I'm going to add 2x to each side. That gives me 3 equals 5x minus 1. I'm going to add 1 to each side to get 4 equals 5x, and divide by 5 to get 4/5 equals x. For my second example, 3 minus 2x equals negative, parenthesis, 3x minus 1, so I have to distribute the negative. So that's 3 minus 2x equals negative 3x plus 1 when I distribute. Negative times a negative gave me a positive. I'm now going to add 3x from each side to each side. I do that because I like to deal with the positive values. So this side I have 3 plus x, negative 2 plus 3 is 1, equals 1. I'm going to subtract 3, sorry about that, subtract 3. I get x equals negative 2, and then again I can check both of those answers and then write them in set notation.